At first, the Marmac tribe lived in the sea. These were beautiful creatures with unique eyes that sparkled like precious stones. However, their ferocious nature brought endless suffering to the people who entered the sea. When Marmac, using their magic, which was not subject to humans, tried to monopolize the sea, Emperor Bauenberg was forced to declare war on Marmac. Both sides, exhausted after a long and bloody war, eventually came to a compromise. As a guarantee of the conclusion of the treaty, Marmac sent a girl to the empire. July 19, 768, according to the imperial calendar, the central annex of the imperial palace. The maids are picking flowers. One of them asks if they are still making pansy wreaths at this time. The other one tells her that who knows, the last time they left the annex was more than 10 years ago. A girl approached them and announced that the sun was about to set and they needed to get ready to go inside. Imperial maid Molina Louise von Hanover. The maids rejoiced at her asking what color of pansy she thought would best suit Lady Cordelia. She sighed, answering that flowers were certainly nice, but if they wanted to properly prepare for tomorrow's birthday celebration, they better hurry up, and before she can finish speaking, she trips and falls into the water. Only the maids had time to scream in horror before the girl was already rushing towards them. She jumped into the water after Lady Molina opened her eyes and saw a girl in front of her. She looked very beautiful. Her long turquoise hair floated in the water. The girl held out her hand, telling her that Molina should be more careful, and pulled her to the surface. The maids rushed to help her get out of the water. Then the girl who saved her got out. It was a girl from the Marmac tribe, Cordelia. She was glad that she made it in time and asked how Lady Molina was feeling. She was very ashamed of her clumsiness, so she dryly thanked the girl. The maids admired Cordelia's swimming. Every time they saw her swim, they took their breath away. The lady was like a duck to water. The girl smiled and emphasized that this is not so far from the truth. After all, she is half Marmac. She was born from the union of her human father with her Marmac mother. She is the guarantee of peace, which was sent to the empire on condition that the long war between the two races end. In other words, her very existence is a symbol of peace. One of the maids was thinking how strange it was to see someone of mixed race. She never thought the Marmacs existed before she met Lady Cordelia. Molina screamed for everyone to remember their manners when talking to Lady Cordelia, and the maid immediately rushed to ask for forgiveness. Cordelia thought that everything was fine because she knew that there was no malicious intent in the maid's words. Molina didn't like the fact that the girl was too carefree. Wringing out the hem of her dress, she replied that after they had spent so much time together, all these formalities were inappropriate between them. Since she doesn't remember anything before she left the sea, they all became family to her. She really liked this relaxed atmosphere. The girl, smiling contentedly, said that she knew that Molina felt the same. The maid sheepishly agreed, and the young maids joyfully hugged Lady Cordelia. Cordelia thought it was strange that she had virtually no memories of her life before she came here. She looked at her ring. Only one thing. Marmac woman speaks to little Cordelia. She is very sorry that the girl will have to bear such a heavy burden at such a young age. She warned her Cordelia should be careful of people. Greed is inherent in them by nature itself. If they ever try to harm her, we need to take the gem, and the girl only remembered how someone gave her a ring along with some kind of warning. But that was so long ago, so all the details are vague. She wondered who that mermaid was. Night. The maids look after the ladies. One of them, combing her hair, says that tomorrow is Cordelia's first day as an adult girl. The second one asks what kind of cake she would like. A special day like tomorrow certainly deserves celebration. The maids are sincerely happy for the girl. Cornelia modestly replied that tomorrow she would turn 18, and there was no need for a celebration. The girls said it was nonsense. There is no better day for celebration and fun than coming of age. It seemed to them that just yesterday she was a very tiny girl. She grew up in the blink of an eye. The maid asked if the girl had decided on the gift that His Majesty would ask for. Cordelia replied that she had not thought about it yet. She had already received so much from him. His Majesty even built this extension for her in the center of the imperial palace, all so that she can live free from human eyes despite the fact that she is just a captive. She always thought it was a little shameless of her to ask for anything more. Molina came in saying that it was already quite late. The maids felt it was important to allow Lady Cornelia to rest well. Smiling sweetly, they said goodbye, wishing the lady a pleasant stay. When the girl first stepped ashore, everything seemed frightening and incomprehensible. Contrary to her fears, her escorts were very kind to her. Thanks to them, she quickly adapted to her new surroundings. Before she found out about this, about 10 years had already passed. Cordelia will do whatever it takes to fulfill her role. With these thoughts, she fell fast asleep. The noise outside the window woke up the girl. She went over to look, hoping for a wind. Touching the curtain. The window suddenly opened. A boy stood in the window with flowers, who happily said that since her birthday was soon, he came to be the first to congratulate her, Emperor of the Bauenberg Empire, Tobias Julius von Bauenberg. The girl was excited by the arrival of His Highness, and even in such an unusual way the maids could notice him. The Emperor reassured her, saying that everyone knew that he cared for her like his own daughter. If it's a mistake to wish your child a happy birthday, then so be it. Cordelia was a little embarrassed. She could not express how happy she was to receive the care and affection of His Highness. The Emperor said that sadness filled his heart as he pulled her into his arms. How lonely it must have been for her to live in that outbuilding, and yet nothing can be done about it in the end. It is for her own safety. His Majesty is truly a kind man. However, due to excessive disturbance, he strictly restricts access to the central annex so that no one can freely enter and exit. Neither the girl nor the maids were ever given permission to leave her territory. The girl said that His Majesty need not worry, as long as there are those who harbor hatred towards Marmak's legacy. She fully understands that His Majesty has no choice but to keep her safe from harm. The Emperor patted the girl on the head and asked if there was anything she would like to receive for her birthday. What he gave was enough for her. The boy knew that Cordelia's answer would be that, so he took the liberty of choosing her gift in advance himself. He hoped she would like it. The Emperor walked up to the table and opened the box. Inside it was a beautifully crafted dagger decorated with many stones. He took it in his hands and said that this dagger was made especially for her. The sharpness of this blade is enough to easily pierce the skin of any animal. The girl was very happy about such an unusual gift. The boy was glad that she liked it. The clock hand was approaching midnight. He said that if she knew how long he had been waiting for this moment, sticking a dagger into Cordelia's heart, he congratulated her on her birthday. The boy cut out the girl's heart and held it up, rejoicing like crazy. Cordelia did not understand why His Highness did this to her. She lay on the floor, bleeding, and remembered how, as a little girl, she played with His Highness. What an endlessly kind smile he had. She was in a lot of pain. A mermaid floated into her memory, telling her that she should not trust people. Greed is inherent in them by nature. If they ever try to harm her, she must take the gem on this ring and break it. She raised her hand and looked at the ring, praying that before she passed out she had to break it, and the stone cracked. Cordelia opens her eyes, screaming in her bed, safe and sound. She looks at her ring with the damaged stone. Molina flies into the room. She excitedly asks what happened. The girl jumps up and grabs her by the shoulders, asking if she is dead because she was stabbed just a minute ago. Molina calms the girl down, saying that it looks like the lady had a nightmare. It must be terrible to experience that on the morning of her birthday. The girl is perplexed. She incoherently repeats, "A nightmare birthday," and Molina says that today is her 16th birthday. She couldn't believe it, and asked if it was 768 now, to which the maid replied that the year 768 will come only in 2 years. Cordelia takes off and runs towards the birthday cake. She remembers once telling the maid that a chocolate cake would be a wonderful gift for her 16th birthday. Is that possible? To which the girl replied that of course it was possible. She would definitely write, "Happy Birthday," in big letters at the top. She flies into the room where the maids greet her with a cake and flowers. The girl looks at the cake. It is chocolate and with the inscription, "Happy Birthday," in large letters. They joyfully congratulate her. Inner garden of the Imperial Palace. A man heals a boy's bruised knee, Prince of the Bauenberg Empire, Noah Julius von Bauenberg. After a short time, he notifies that the treatment is completed. She will no longer be sick. People standing nearby praise the imperial family's healing magic abilities. The man scolds the boy, saying that he has no idea how precious this power is, and how dare he inconvenience His Highness. He asked the prince not to be too strict with the boy. The prince smiled and said that there is no disease that does not require healing. Healing magic was a gift from heaven to be used for the greater good. He is glad that he was able to heal this child. People standing nearby said that he had no one to blame but himself. He tried to climb the wall to look inside the bird cage. The boy blushed and said that everyone says that a mermaid princess lives there. The man denied, saying it was just a stupid rumor. He understands that His Majesty the Emperor wants to protect the prisoner from danger, but all he does is hide it. No one in the imperial palace had ever seen this girl. The boy turned to His Highness and asked if he had ever seen the mermaid princess. He hesitated. He could not say what he saw. The prince nodded, remembering that he was going somewhere, and he sped off. The maids looked after Cordelia. She looked at the ring and still could not believe that it brought her back to the past. But she knew that this was the best explanation. After all, she had broken the gem after she was stabbed to death by the emperor. The maids noticed that the girl was pale. They were worried about her well-being. She replied that everything was fine. And suddenly she remembered there was one more thing she had to check. The girl ran into the garden. If she really went back in time 2 years ago, he would be there soon. Arriving at the garden, she found the prince lying on the ground trying to climb through the fence of the outbuilding. Seeing him, she screamed, calling for His Highness. The prince was happy with the girl. He was embarrassed by the current situation, but asked her to help him climb through. Passed. The maids discussed the prince and his strange interest in stuffed animals and ribbons. They were sorry that he was soft-hearted, but he was next in line to the throne. The boy heard everything. He didn't understand why they were talking about him, as if there was something wrong with him. He thought what was wrong was that he liked the teddy bear and didn't want to hurt anyone. Holding a pink bundle of fabric, he happily said that it was his favorite floral pattern. He asked her to make a new dress suit for him. The girls hesitated, convincing the prince that flowers were usually worn by ladies. He is the successor of the emperor himself. He should wear a strict red satin suit. The prince protested embarrassedly. The maid offered to sew him a scarf from this filigree. Another maid, supporting her idea, offered to take His Highness's measurements. Climbing through the same fence, he was caught by little Cordelia. He wanted at least one person in the world to understand him. He dreamed of having a friend who would accept him for who he is. The prince thanked the girl for helping him. If not for her, he would have been stuck here all day. Molina scolded the prince, emphasizing that His Majesty would be disappointed if he discovered his secret forays into the palace. But as she sees, this does not stop him. He happily said that he couldn't help but come here because today is a special day. Today is Cordelia's birthday. He baked cookies and was ready to give them to the maids if in return they promised to keep his foray here a secret. After seeing his wonderful cookies, they simply could not refuse. They were fascinated by his cooking skills. His baking is the best payment. Last time he brought a cake. It was incomparable. Cordelia watched what was happening tensely. Her 16th birthday went exactly as she remembered it. The prince handed the girl a package. He wanted to give her a scarf for her birthday that he embroidered himself. The prince blushed. Cordelia beamed with a smile, thanking her for such a valuable gift. She would like to know how he and His Majesty got on all this time. Unfortunately, she could not know about what was happening outside the palace. The prince looked away. He didn't know whether to talk about it. The prince asked him to forgive him for bringing bad news for them on such a day. He said that the war with the mermaids had started again. The girls were shocked. Everything is exactly as Cordelia remembered. Around the summer of 766, war broke out again. The Second War began due to the reckless invasion of mermaids into human territory. The prince said that the mermaids were the first to break the treaty by attacking a coastal village near the islands. Many fell from their onslaught. They spared neither the elderly nor the children. He did not understand what innocent people had done wrong, how they dared to do such a thing. He hesitated and began to ask Cordelia for forgiveness. He did not want to speak badly about her people. The girl said that everything was fine because she didn't remember much about her people. The only thing that matters and that she feels affection for are the people with whom she spent her childhood here. The cry of the guards was heard greeting His Imperial Majesty. The girls were dumbfounded. Cordelia quickly began to hide the prince. The emperor has arrived. The girls bowed, greeting His Majesty, saying, "May his glory be eternal in the empire." He thanked them and asked if everything was okay. He heard that it was Cordelia's birthday today, so he came to congratulate her. The emperor smiled slavishly, saying that he hoped she would become a beautiful young lady. This will be enough to fill his heart with happiness. All these words dulled the girl's sense of justice. The fact that war had come meant that the truce with the mermaid people had come to an end. It's surprising that he decided to leave her in the palace. He asked what she would like as a gift. The girl replied that she was pleased with everything the emperor had given her. He stroked her head, and Cordelia felt a shiver of memory. She gasped and accidentally remembered one thing Cordelia asked His Majesty if he would allow it. She really wanted to go outside beyond this mansion. He laughed, reminding her that it was very dangerous for her outside. The girl panicked. She's been here so long that she doesn't think she can stay locked up for another year. He took her hands, telling her that she was still too young, but when she was old enough, then he would let her out. She remembered his words, how he had waited for that moment for a long time. When she grew up, His Majesty stuck a knife into her. She began to cry, falling to the floor, and began to scream how tired she was. She would rather die than go crazy from not knowing the outside world. Cordelia understood that there was only one way to convince him if it works, she can change her future. Now there is no other choice but to check and take a chance. She looked up at him. His face was burning with anger. The girl was horrified. He sighed and said pitifully that it seemed like this had been making her suffer for a long time. He's so sorry that he wasn't more considerate of her feelings all this time. But he asks you to believe him at the moment he cannot allow this. Not now. He knelt in front of the girl, saying that they are currently at war with the mermaid people. There are people outside these walls who want the girl dead. He won't be able to forgive himself if something happens to her. Cordelia hesitated and asked to forgive her for her irritability, because she did not know what was happening behind the walls. He took her hand and thanked her for her understanding. He promised that he would put an end to this war. Once it's over, he'll show her everything. Until then, she needs to stay here and be a little patient. The emperor was very nice to the lady. The maids approached the bushes, notifying His Highness that he could go out. His Majesty had just left the palace. He climbed out of the foliage with a sigh, looking sadly at Cordelia. The girls excitedly discussed the news of the war. Another maid approached them and began to encourage them by telling them a story. The imperial family grew stronger from generation to generation. Even since ancient times, the Babenberg Empire has conquered continents as if it were the will of heaven itself. This is a fairly well-known story. Soon after the first emperor took the throne, he fell ill with an incurable disease for a reason unknown to everyone. Many doctors gave him all kinds of medicines, but none of them achieved success. Therefore, the emperor simply accepted his fate and waited, but later heard the voice of the heavenly Lord. I give you and all your descendants the power that will lead you to a better future. And after that, a real miracle happened. The first emperor somehow miraculously recovered as if he had never been sick. Moreover, he himself mastered the magic of healing, although people were not born with magical abilities. Therefore, people considered him not a man but a real deity. And after that, the power granted to the imperial family, like power, was passed on from generation to generation. The maid added that, in addition, the current emperor controls his strength so skillfully that he has surpassed all his predecessors. He is full of magic and uses it in such a way that his appearance is like a little boy, although in fact he is already in his 50s. She continued saying that in any case, as long as the empire was blessed by heaven, the war would end in the blink of an eye. They can breathe easy and completely entrust their lives to the emperor. Cordelia stood completely still, thinking about what had happened. Although it was only for a short time, the emperor lost his composure for a moment. She wondered how long he had been pretending. Suddenly, a terrible thought floated into her head. What if everyone around her knew everything from the very beginning? The prince touched her shoulder, and she shuddered. He plaintively asked if she was pretending that she was okay. No one thought that she was so willing to leave this place. He promised to try to talk to his father and convince him to change his mind. Molina joined in, saying that she would also ask His Majesty for this. She took Cordelia's hands and asked for forgiveness for not paying attention to her suffering, although she was closest to her. The maids tearfully pitied the girl. Cordelia looked at the prince and remembered his little one. They are sitting on the grass by the fence. The girl admires the boy's beautiful handkerchief. The boy embarrassedly asked that it wasn't strange for him because boys weren't supposed to wear something like that. The girl smiled brightly, not seeing anything strange in it. She said that it doesn't matter who he is, because the main thing is that he likes it. The boy was happy to hear the words of understanding that he had so hoped for. The prince jumped up, brushed himself off, and said that he was pleased to meet my lady. Reaching out his hand, he asked if she would be his friend. Cordelia tried to keep her head held high and be strong, but in reality she was lonely and afraid of her new home. But when His Highness asked her to be his friend, she was very happy. Whenever the opportunity arose, he came to her palace. As children should, they quickly became close. His Highness was a wonderful boy with a big heart. Perhaps that is why he often cried out of worry for others, and he smiled just as often. He is Cordelia's first treasured friend, but not the only one. There were people she considered family. She didn't want to suspect them in advance, but she had to. She wanted to dissuade them from this idea, saying that she did not want to make them worry about it. She acted like a child and asked for something she shouldn't have. The prince said that she should not pretend that everything is fine. They can convince their father before it is too late. The girl thanked him, but assured that everything was fine. His Majesty will allow her to leave when the war is over? Molina got excited. Cordelia, taking her hands, said that she would just show a little patience. Until then, she'll just enjoy being here with everyone. She is confident that the right day will come soon. She thanked them for their concern and smiled happily. Cordelia believed that if she had already decided not to doubt any of them, she should believe them. There is some secret related to her coming of age which His Majesty is hiding. She must find out the truth. But it's easier said than done. She is at a disadvantage. For starters, she can't set foot outside the palace. In her current situation, it is difficult to achieve everything that she would like. She sighed and figured out the order of past events in her memory. She shook her head furiously, chastising herself that even though she had gone back in time, she couldn't remember anything useful. Noah, it's the only source of news. The maids whispered behind Cordelia's back, saying that the lady was a little strange today. Molina asked why they weren't doing anything. They pointed to Cordelia. The girl recalled the day she came of age looking for a clue there, but she had lost so much blood that her head was in a fog, and because of this, she could not remember any useful information. She couldn't just sit and waste her precious time. Molina approached her and awkwardly asked if anything was bothering her. The girl looked away, pretending that nothing was important. Molina placed the teaware in front of her, and Cordelia, putting on a smile, thanked her for the tea. Molina asked her to forgive her for asking if the lady was worried about the war. Cordelia thought that from the outside it might look exactly like this, and even better. If she told anyone that the emperor was trying to kill her, she would be accused of insulting the emperor. It will be difficult to explain that she went back in time. She decided to pretend that she was worried about the war. It would look natural, the girl asked embarrassedly, if it was really so obvious. She knows she won't change the outcome of this war, but she still worries, just can't help but worry about it. But the worst part is that she can't find out what's really going on. Molina suggested contacting her uncle. He serves in the Imperial Navy and may be able to give a general idea of what is happening. Cordelia replied that if she could do it for her, that would be wonderful. Taking the cup in her hand, Molina noticed with horror that his stone had split. The girl became agitated, suggesting that it had broken when she fell. The maid was sorry, because this was the only thing Cordelia had left from the sea, but she insisted that everything was fine. Cordelia opened the sugar bowl, but it was almost empty. She asked for the sugar bowl to be refilled, and the maid immediately rushed off to get it. Father and little Molina are standing in the meadow. Holding a sword in his hands, he says that the duty of every woman is to give birth to a son to continue the family line. Doesn't it seem to her that this opinion is outdated? She too can lead their family and fulfill her dreams. If she truly wanted to become a knight, he would do everything in his power to support her. He puts a sword in her hands and strokes her head. He wanted her to be free and live the way she wanted. It was raining. People gathered at the church to honor the memory of the deceased Count of Hanover. Standing at his grave, they gossiped about him. They said how sorry they were for him, but perhaps it was better than him becoming a member of the House of Representatives. He talked nonsense about leaving the title to his daughter, allows the girl to become the head of the family. Other aristocrats will finally get rid of fear and be able to breathe easy. Now a man will become the head of the clan. Mr. Hanover's children heard it all. The brother hid behind his sister, shaking with fear. She turned to him and assured him that there was nothing to worry about. He would succeed. Bill denied because he is not strong and not as smart as her. Molina put her hands on his shoulders and said in all seriousness that he shouldn't say such things. Now he will become the head of the house. You need to be strong and brave. The girl thought that she needed to hold on. Although it is true that their father wanted her to fulfill her dreams, there are things she needs to do as the eldest daughter of the Hanover family. Sitting on the grass in the garden, the distressed Molina told Noah how things were going with her. The elders of the family wanted to force the girl to become a court maid. He got really mad about it. She will probably find a good match if she is at the palace. She suspected that the elders wanted to marry her off so that the strength of the clan would strengthen. The prince asked if she would come again for fencing lessons. The girl said that only thanks to her father could she learn to wield a sword. But when he left, she clutched the sword and hesitated. The elders believe that it is indecent for a woman to hold a sword in her hands. Noah was very upset. Even their instructors said that she was the best. And the boy added that if she became a maid, they would not be able to play often. Molina looked up at him and smiled, asking if he knew what the building was in the center of the imperial court. Noah answered hesitantly that it seemed like there was a captive mermaid living there, and the girl said that it was true. Now he knows where she will work. The boy hesitated and then joyfully exclaimed that he could visit her and he would do everything to get there. Molina laughed. She confidently said that he would be caught and thrown out. Maids take food. Molina checks the checklist. While listing the items, she yawned protractedly. A maid standing nearby asked if she was okay. Molina abruptly covered her mouth and blushed. She felt ashamed of her manners. She said she didn't sleep well and needed to get some sleep. Cordelia was rushing towards them at full speed. She forgot that they received supplies today and offered to help organize everything. Svitka calmed the girl down, saying that they could handle it together. Cordelia hesitated. She was alone with nothing to do. Ignoring the maid's words, she sat down to the bags, looking closely at them, asking if it all needed to be taken down to the basement. Molina panicked. They couldn't let her do menial work. The girl was already touching the bag. And Molina said that she never gives up and insists on her own, although they can handle it themselves. Cordelia replied that she was ashamed that she was the only one doing nothing while everyone else was working hard. It's not fair. After all, this is her house, she lives in it. As long as she is part of the family, she wants to help. Seeing the lady's bright smile, little Cordelia floated into Molina's memory. She happily extends her hand to her and invites her to become friends. She called out to Mrs. Cordelia, who was carrying a bag into the basement, saying that she had not changed since their first meeting at all. Her words made the girl blush. She asked Cordelia to promise that this was the only bag she would carry. At Molina's feet, Svitka noticed how something flashed and reached out to it. Molina bent down with lightning speed and grabbed the bead before Svitka, which greatly frightened her. She began to ask her for forgiveness. Cordelia found her reaction extremely unusual. The maids escorted the mistress to her chambers, and having exchanged farewell wishes for a peaceful sleep, they left. The girl did not feel very well. Everything hurt due to carrying heavy loads. Her legs could barely carry her to the bed, but she noticed a bright glow turning around. Cordelia saw the full moon. She seemed unusually beautiful to her, and the girl immediately stuck to the window. It was light outside, so she noticed His Highness in the cage's domain. This bothered her, and in order to find out if anything had happened, she quietly went downstairs. Going out into the courtyard, Cordelia called for His Highness, but found that no one was there. Past little Molina is looking for Cordelia in the yard. The girl played with Noah. She began to introduce her new friend to her. Molina ran up to them and hit the boy on the head. She scolded him because she asked him not to get caught. Noah would hint to her that she was being rude and remind her that he was still a prince. Cordelia understood absolutely nothing of what was happening. A moment later, Molina apologizes for the inconvenience. She should not have reacted like that. The girl was glad that she was both taking fencing lessons. She asked Molina with interest why she didn't tell her that she could handle a sword. She would like to see it. Molina blushed, saying that there was nothing impressive about it. Noah spoke enthusiastically about Molina's amazing skills. Their teacher always said that she could do the 10 things he just showed her on the first try. She's magical with a sword. Her blade moves so fast that you can't even see it. Molina laughed sheepishly. She said that His Highness was bad at everything except brute force. He is always eager to fight before the start of sparring. Noah blushed at her story. Cordelia laughed, saying that they must be very close. His Highness came all this way to see Molina. The girl took her hands and offered friendship. All three of them could be friends. Molina pulled back, thanking him for the offer. She stressed that it would not be wise. The guys were very upset by her answer. She tried to explain that it wasn't because she was uncomfortable. She knows that they do not remember their past, but the fact that they live in the palace as a sign of reconciliation means that they have high status. Molina believed that she was just a maid assigned to a lady. Being their friend is an honor that does not suit her status. Cordelia lay in bed, thinking how much time had passed since then. The maids entered the room, notifying that it was time to get up. The girl could hardly open her eyes. The maid, noticing her tired appearance, asked how she slept. The girl admired yesterday's moon. She looked at it until late at night. She said that she saw His Highness last night, and she asked if he came here. Molina was pretty nervous. She laughed and said that there are only women in this palace. He would not come here in the middle of the night. The lady must have mistaken the tree's shadow for His Highness. Cordelia was surprised, but suggested that it was possible. The day passed as usual. The girls ate, walked, and talked. Night has fallen. Cordelia was sure that she could not mistake the shadow from the tree for His Highness. She made her way into the yard. Cordelia thought that it was so bright that the difference between a shadow and a person must be visible. On top of that, there was something strange about the way Molina spoke, as if she was trying to hide something. Sitting around the corner, she saw His Highness crawling under the fence. Molina rushed to help him get up. Cordelia was shocked and glad she came to see it. Molina grumbled at Noah for most likely being seen last night. After all, she asked him not to wait in a visible place so that this would not happen. The girl warned him that he needed to be careful because Cordelia was very smart. He agreed with her words. Cordelia did not understand what they were hiding from her. Her thoughts were confused. They were heading to the greenhouse at such a late hour. Cordelia rushed after them. She believed that this could not only have been happening for the last 2 years, perhaps they had been fooling her all this time. What if they are in league with the Emperor? She wanted to believe that it wasn't so. If they really betrayed her, what could she do now? She was confused. Noah and Molina sat down at the table. Cordelia watched them behind the glass of the greenhouse, but she had difficulty seeing what was happening. The guy showed and explained something to Molina she didn't understand, and asked to explain more clearly if he decided to teach her. Then let him teach her at least something. Her patience is running out. Their conversation turned into a quarrel. Cordelia sat down on the floor, completely unaware of what was happening. Meanwhile, a frog was creeping up to her. It touched her hand, and the girl screamed. Noah and Molina rushed to her aid. They were surprised by her presence. The girl awkwardly replied that she had gone out for a walk. Putting on an innocent face, she asked what they were doing here. They looked at each other awkwardly. They took her into the greenhouse and showed her pearl bracelet. Molina was very embarrassed. The prince explained that she had done most of it herself. He only told her what to do. Cordelia admired their success and what a wonderful teacher he was. She asked why they kept it a secret, what they were going to do with it. Molina looked away, saying that the lady's birthday had already passed, but it was supposed to be a surprise. Cordelia felt ashamed that she thought so badly of them. The maid asked for forgiveness. She wanted it to be a surprise, but the lady revealed them before they could finish everything. However, she gave Noah a lot of trouble because she couldn't make the bracelet beautiful enough. Cordelia screamed that it was all her fault. Noah tried to dispel such a tense atmosphere, saying that now it doesn't matter. Molina is sometimes too hard on herself. She shouldn't belittle herself for her efforts. Noah was right. Cordelia doesn't really care how she did it. She's very grateful. After all, Molina prepared a gift, especially for her, which could be more important. Molina remembered their childhood. Cordelia demands Molina to allow them to be friends. The girl was watering the flowers, raising the watering can. She asked how often she asked her about this. Cordelia thought for a long time and decided that she did not want to back down. Molina tried to say something when the lady, crossing her arms over her chest, grumbled that they couldn't be friends because she was an important person. If the reason is only that it is important. Molina looked away, asking what the other servants would think if they were too close. The girl replied that what is important is what she herself wants. Molina suddenly remembered how she asked her father what would happen if she mastered the art of fencing like Noah. As far as she remembered, this was prohibited. People don't like to see a lady brandishing a sword. The father hesitated, patting the baby on the head. He said that nothing was bothering them. What she wants is more important than the opinions of others. Cordelia brought her back to reality with her declaration of love. She said that she loved her kindness and sincerity, and she again made an attempt to offer friendship. Molina blushed and turned away. Hiding her embarrassment, she agreed on the condition that no one would know about it. These memories made her feel happy. She thanked Lady Cordelia. The girl was indignant, asking to use an informal style of communication when no one was around. Molina remembered the letter that she planned to give to the lady tomorrow, but since the circumstances were so, she handed it over now. Cordelia did not understand what kind of letter it was. The maid explained that her uncle had sent an answer to her letter. He briefly spoke about what was happening in the war. The lady hoped that she would learn something useful. The letter said that the uncle was happy about Molina's unexpected letter, and he hoped that everything was fine with her. There is no other way to describe this place as absolute hell. By order, he is prohibited from disclosing any information, but he said one thing: the situation is much worse than before the truce. Marmak are completely different from people and cause a lot of problems. In addition to using their magical powers, they are difficult to kill or injure, and their endurance is amazing. Their only weaknesses are iron and fire, so the soldiers try to use only this, but due to their incredible regeneration, it is difficult for them to go on the offensive. Regardless of this, the uncle vowed to do everything possible for the good of the empire and the future of his niece. He asked to pray for their victory. Noah broke the silence in the air by saying that things were going worse than they expected. Molina asked if Marmaks can't stand fire and iron, then Cordelia can't either. The girl had touched iron before, but it did not harm her. Noah suggested that the other effect was due to the fact that Cordelia was of mixed blood. She was half human after all. Molina added that this might be why she couldn't use her magic. Then that means Cordelia is more like humans. Cordelia thought. In the water, she looks like Marmak. The fact that she breathes calmly underwater proves that she is definitely not human. She was bothered by the part of the letter. She picked it up and poked it at her. Their endurance is amazing. What could that mean? Noah said that one day he overheard a conversation between his father and the commander. According to the commander, the mermaid's body is much stronger than a human's. Usually, people die from serious head or heart injuries, but apparently this does not affect mermaids. Molina asked in surprise if he meant to say that they could not be killed. Noah replied that this was not entirely true, but the commander said that they could still move for a while even after they were pierced through the heart. If this is true, then it is no wonder why they do not give up. Noah believed that this was what Molina's uncle meant when he said that the Marmaks were causing them a lot of problems. Cordelia felt sick. She was so shocked by this information that her heart ached as if it had been torn out again. Before her eyes stood the emperor holding her heart in his hands. How happy he was to get it, and the girl fell to the floor gasping. She realized that his goal was not to kill her, but to get her heart. The girl clutched the nightgown on her chest and asked Molina if she could ask her for a favor. She wanted to request an audience with His Majesty and asked Molina to send the request. She asked what the lady wished to discuss with him. Cordelia answered with a determined look that there was something she would rather discuss with him in private. 4 hours later, Molina accompanies Noah standing by the fence. She asks him to help finish the bracelet. The guy agrees, but he is interested in why the bracelet, because Cordelia's ring broke. The girl looked at him with a certain feeling of disgust. She angrily shouted that she couldn't believe her ears. Was he really laughing at her? She pointed her finger at him, saying that he was the only one who should give Cordelia the ring, not her. Molina asked how long he was going to cherish this one-sided love, and when he was going to tell Cordelia about his feelings. The prince blushed and covered his face with his hand. It was difficult for him to find a suitable answer. Molina grabbed the bars and started screaming that he had been putting this off for the last few years. Did he understand how difficult it was to watch this? He drove her crazy. The prince entered the store. The owner greeted him flatteringly. They sat down in armchairs over a cup of tea. His Highness thanked them for the warm welcome, but he was embarrassed that they had to close because of him. He remembered how Molina had yelled at him that he had been friends with Cordelia for years. Had it really not occurred to him to make the first move, or was he going to stand by and watch someone else take her away? He agreed, but he had the feeling that Molina had forced him to come here. Noah remembered how, as a child playing with Cordelia, she said that she wanted to be friends with him until her death. These memories excited him. He had a purpose. He didn't want to remain Cordelia's friend forever. He thought that this time he would actually have the courage to confess his feelings to her. The owner of the jewelry store emphasized that their enterprise is the largest on the continent. They have quite a large selection of jewelry. He was confident that they could find what he was looking for. The prince thought about it. He said he was looking for a gem that would suit the young lady's taste. It should be the right size for the ring, something unique and rare if possible. It would be great if it was a shade of blue that resembled the sea. The gentleman ordered a sample which arrived this morning. He had no idea that His Highness was looking for such a gem. Considering that he is known for his modesty, the store owner could not imagine that he would be interested in jewelry. The prince agreed it was his first time in such a place. He sheepishly said that he felt awkward here. The man assured him that he would get used to it. In the end, he will follow in the footsteps of His Majesty the Emperor and will be the most important person in the empire. The jewel he was about to show off is so rare that the cream of high society can only dream of seeing it. His Majesty has come to the right place. The prince became a little nervous. The owner of the store reassured the prince. He guaranteed complete confidentiality for their clients. The store worker returned carrying a beautiful box in his hands. The gentleman said that this is the best example that they currently have. Its quality is amazing. The gem that His Highness was looking for. The man opened the box and the prince was numb with horror. Inside the box was a mermaid's eye, a beautiful sparkling bead in the color of the sea. The prince asked if it was really the mermaid's eye. The shopkeeper said that perhaps this was the first time the prince had seen him, so it was not surprising that His Highness was struck by his beauty. It was delivered this morning, so it's definitely the freshest. Noah couldn't believe it. He thought it was all a joke. The shop owner noticed that His Highness was difficult to convince. He added that the optic nerve was removed with extreme precision. He's absolutely perfect. The prince bent down sharply, covering his face with his hands. He felt sick. He kept wondering if this man wanted to prank him like that, but it didn't look like a joke. Having found the strength to calm down, he said as far as he knew, the mermaid's eye was a treasure. He could not believe that he was able to see it in person. The man confirmed, saying that the fact that it is difficult to get is what makes it so valuable. This is due to the fact that mermaids have a ferocious character and they rarely leave the water. Only the imperial family has the right to supply mermaid eyes. Noah was very surprised. Having learned that the prince knew nothing about this, the owner gladly told him everything. Their enterprise also acquires eyes through the imperial family. This is a great opportunity for the prince to learn about the industry he will undoubtedly inherit. The high priest condemned this. Because of his interference, they use illegal supply methods. Thanks to the war, the corpses of mermaids wash up on the shore. Therefore, there have been no problems with supplies recently. How fortunate that evil creatures are actually a goldmine for people. This is business. This war is a real blessing. Sunny morning. Cordelia stands at the food supply, outraged that they delivered too much again. She picked up the bag, but it turned out to be too heavy, and the girl almost fell. Noah caught her, telling her she needed to be more careful. Cordelia happily greeted him by name, then changed to a more formal style of communication. She asked why he had come to the annex. The prince didn't have a specific reason, he just wanted to see her. Cordelia noticed his upset look. Although he was trying to smile, she reached out to him and stroked his face, asking if something had happened. At first he was surprised and blushed, but then he clung to her hand. Cordelia noticed what she had done and quickly withdrew her hand. Her heart was beating wildly. She invited him to tell her everything. They sat down on the bridge railing. He decided to keep silent about the recent news until he himself was convinced of its veracity. It was hard for him to tell Cordelia everything since it is directly related to mermaids. Noah thought it was too cruel to be true. The store owner must be using strange rumors to deceive customers. He didn't believe that his father was hiding something from him. The prince asked the girl how she would feel if she learned something that she should not have known, something that it would be better not to know at all. She hesitated. She would like to know the truth. Cordelia said there was something she hadn't told anyone. She had been doubting herself a lot lately. She came here as a child. She has no memories of the past. For a captive, she has a fairly privileged life. But the fact is that she cannot afford to go beyond the palace. She has no opportunity to learn anything new. She is served day and night, but is she worthy of this care? Cordelia was tormented by guilt, so she tries to be helpful. She is not good enough at needlework like Noah, and she doesn't have sword skills like Molina. She felt like an old flower vase that was useless because it was empty. She doesn't know what the future holds for her. If the war ends, her only purpose as a prisoner will disappear. Noah objected. He believed that she was much more than a prisoner. He blushed, adding that she had no idea how much. Cordelia smiled at him. She touched his hand, saying that she hoped to console him. But in the end, she received comfort herself. She was very grateful to him. The girl looked up at the sky and said that in the end she was the only one who should decide her fate. That's why, if she finds out something bad, she'd rather face it no matter how much it hurts her. Noah looked at her in admiration, saying that this is what she would do. He didn't think that he was the same. The thought flashed through his head that this is why he loves Cordelia. Noah and his father are drinking tea in the garden. The father asks how long he is going to put it off. It's time to make a decision. This year Noah turns 18. He is no longer a child. The man says that he is not asking him to take part in the war. All he wants is for Noah to better understand battle tactics. Noah broke out in a cold sweat. He tried to explain that giving orders was not his forte. If he went to headquarters, he would only get in the way. His father interrupted him, saying that that was why he was advising him to just observe in order to gain experience. Noah is only capable of killing an ant. The emperor did not expect his participation. Noah said that he understood him, but as his father said, he is not that experienced. If he was on the front line just because he was a prince, he was sure he would do more harm than good. Not to mention, this is a battlefield. It is not enough to simply make a plan for defense or attack. He won't be able to help, but he thinks it would be stupid of him to use the best knights for his personal protection. The emperor reproached him that using power is a concept that has nothing to do with Noah. His father offers him a great opportunity to gain experience in combat. But his son preferred to stay here like a coward. He asked if he dared to call himself a prince after that. Noah asked what his father thought about the war. This senseless war which has no end has been going on for more than 10 years. Isn't that disgusting? No one will benefit from constantly destroying each other. He didn't understand why it was taking so long. Noah plucked up his courage and blurted out if there was something his father was hiding from him. The father thought for a moment and replied that only a bloodthirsty monster would enjoy war. But while the mermaids continue to attack their lands and plunder their people, it is his duty as emperor to protect his subjects. Even if his only goal is caring for the innocent, he cannot give up war. Noah was sure that his father was incapable of planning something so terrible. The maid brought the cake that His Highness requested. The emperor, folding his hands on his chest, asked what it was Noah made this cake for their tea party. The prince was talking about the cake, when suddenly his father hit the table with his fist, angrily saying that he was tired of repeating this to him. A man should not be in the kitchen. He waved his hand and ordered the maid to take him away. Tobias thought that everyone was getting on his nerves today. Cordelia was sweet and obedient all the time. Why did she ask for a meeting so suddenly? It would be better for her not to bother him again. Cordelia was in her room thinking about her magical abilities. Standing at the table, pointing her palm at the book lying on it, she loudly ordered the book to rise into the air and flutter like a butterfly. At that moment, Molina entered, seeing what was happening. She froze and then backed away. Closing the door behind her, Cordelia begged her to stay, saying it wasn't what she thought. Cordelia explained everything to her. Molina suggested that it was too early to worry about her lack of magical powers, but the girl thought she could understand how it worked. She figured that maybe if she used a bunch of spells, something similar to how she would change underwater would happen. And she screamed, commanding the rain to fall and the fire to light up. She asked if this is how it should be. Molina assumed that magic worked a little differently. For example, Noah does not cast spells when using the power. Cordelia agreed and decided to ask for help during the meeting. Molina doubted that this would help and suggested asking His Majesty because he would soon arrive at the castle. She agreed. Cordelia thought she was ready to meet him, but apparently the fear deep inside had not gone away. Molina said that they were lucky that the emperor had free time in his schedule. Otherwise, getting an audience in the near future would be very difficult. Suddenly, screams were heard. Someone threw too much wood on the fire and the workers were arguing. Molina needed to check what was going on in the kitchen. She said goodbye and asked Cordelia to get ready for the meeting. The girl was worried. She clenched her fists and convinced herself to remain calm today. She will talk about everything with the emperor. The guards notified of the emperor's arrival. He ordered them to wait outside. Cordelia met him at the house, greeting him warmly and telling him how long she had been waiting for them to meet. He was quite surprised when he heard about her request in audience. After all, she asked for this for the first time. Therefore, the emperor was ready to listen to her. The girl thought that she had managed to organize this meeting without any problems. But now that she came face to face with him, it seemed to her that her heart was about to jump out. The emperor may look like a child, but underneath that innocent appearance lies a dangerous snake. How easy it had been for him to deceive her for the last 10 years. She can't compare to his years of experience. Even standing in front of him, she could not understand what he was hiding behind his smile. Therefore, you should be wary of him. Cordelia was finally able to say that she had a lot of time to think, but she could not curb her curiosity, so she asked to meet with His Majesty. The emperor asked what she was curious about. Cordelia thought he was terrible. She is equal parts angry and scared. It must have been funny for him to watch how she swallowed lies like the last fool. The girl said no matter how much she thought about it, she thought she was old enough to set foot outside the palace. The emperor recalled the danger and hatred of the people towards mermaids because of the war. Cordelia interrupted His Highness, thanking him for his concern. However, she thought it looked a little strange. With the truce broken, there is no longer any reason for her to stay. In addition, if she does not decide to enter the water, no one will be able to guess that she is Marmac. The people in the palace treat her as if she is part of their family, despite the fact that they know who she is. She finds it hard to believe that they hate her just because she is different from them. The emperor sighed, saying that she was mistaken. How could she believe that they were sincere towards her? Even before they were appointed as her servants, these children were trained. It is only thanks to their upbringing that she can live in comfort despite being a captive. Cordelia hesitated because no one had mentioned anything like that. The emperor explained that it was all because he gave such an order. It wouldn't do any good if she found out about this. Her servants are prohibited from expressing any hostility or hatred towards her. The emperor spoke and began to walk slowly towards Cordelia. Therefore, he hoped that she did not hate them either. Unfortunately, she will never know. Perhaps among them there are those who despise her madly. The emperor was curious what she was going to do when she left this place. Here she has everything you could want. He suggested, imagining that she went outside. He asked how she would live if she had a specific plan. Coming close to her, he said, "Did she really think that if she left the palace, all her problems would be solved? This is all nothing, just empty dreams. Does she know how to use money, read cards?" He asked if she knows how to do this. What does she hope to achieve if she doesn't even have basic knowledge? Cordelia stepped back from him and shouted that His Majesty's words were too cruel. He shouted back, ordering her to tell her what she was really good at. He asked her for someone who was capable of nothing but being a prisoner. If she thought she was being too impudent, Cordelia was horrified by his words. His Majesty continued again, going to Cordelia. Without his care and support, she would not have lasted a day. Why didn't she want to accept the fact that everything was being done for her own good? Why does she act so stupid when she knows she can't take care of herself? The emperor stepped too close, and Cordelia stepped back, knocking over the vase stand and shattering it. She fell right in front of the emperor and looked at him in horror. He said how ungrateful it was of her she was blessed, but she couldn't even understand that. His usual sweet smiling expression was replaced by an angry grin. Cordelia has nothing to argue with him. He was right, she is completely useless. Cordelia accidentally touched one of the vase fragments. She took it in her hand, saying that she did not think that His Majesty was unaware of anything. She might not know anything about the outside world, but there was one thing she knew for sure. And Cordelia put the fragment to her chest. The emperor, with horror on his face, asked what she had just said. Cordelia replied, "Her heart is what His Majesty longs for." She grinned, saying how lucky it was that the only thing she knew was the most important truth of all. Tobias didn't understand how this was possible. How did she know about it? Before this, she had given no indication that she knew, and there is no one who can tell her. He suggested that perhaps she had known about it all along. Cordelia asked His Majesty if they could skip the small talk and get straight to the point. If he is ready to negotiate, then she has something to offer him. She will risk what he wants most. Cordelia pressed the fragment in the area of her heart, and blood began to flow down her hands. She said one sudden move and she would kill herself. The emperor thought that she was not bluffing. He always thought that she was just a puppy, but she turned out to be a real lioness. He said he didn't know where she heard these strange rumors, but there seemed to be a misunderstanding. He asked her to put the fragment down for a while. He apologized for the rudeness she heard a moment ago. The thought flashed through his mind that she was still a 16-year-old girl. It will be easy to persuade her. Cordelia answered him without removing the fragment from her chest that she would forgive His Majesty only when he let her out of here. He clenched his fists, insisting that she had nowhere to go. She agreed. Gritting his teeth, he suggested that she visit local attractions and issue a special permit. Cordelia laughed, thinking that His Majesty must be joking. She asked if he would really let her travel so far to visit the attractions. He shouted, "What does she want then?" Memory of Cordelia. One evening, she sits in a room with the maids. She drinks tea. The girls do embroidery. Svitka says that since the war has begun, people will face hard times again. Their lives will be on the line. Cordelia asked how, since soldiers go to war, Svitka agreed and added that taxes would double, and all this for military needs. The other maid emphasized that this was their second war. They lack both resources and people. All young men and even women will be drafted into the war. And Cordelia gave a determined answer to the emperor. She demanded to be sent to the front line. It will definitely come in handy there. The emperor had no words. He considered this some kind of absurdity. The girl said that she knows that they accept both women and men because they don't have enough people. The emperor protested. He did not understand why, of all places, the frontline Cordelia stressed, this was where they would need someone as useless as her. Tobias was angry. He grabbed his head and thought, what the hell is this? And what if something happens to Cordelia, or she contacts the mermaids and returns back to the sea? She promised to return in 2 years. He chuckled and asked why she would come back if she was trying so hard to leave this place. Cordelia replied that she would have a coming-of-age ceremony because she would be 18. If she does not perform the ceremony, she will not be recognized as an adult. Therefore, she must return. The man thought about what she said. If she herself wants to return before she turns 80, then she still doesn't know about the most important part. This opportunity must not be missed. He smiled, saying that he felt better when she said she would return. In that case, he will think about her proposal. Cordelia smiled happily. She was sure that his goal was to pull out her heart in 2 years, but even in his wildest dreams, he did not imagine that she would survive. She said with relief and a certain sense of gratitude that His Majesty finally understood what it was like for her and released the fragment from her hand. She expected the emperor to lower his guard. She was determined to overcome the death that he could prepare for her, no matter what. After the meeting, Cordelia bumped into Molina as she tried to quietly return to her room. Molina examined Cordelia's wounds and did not understand how this could happen. The girl replied that she accidentally came across a flower vase. Molina couldn't believe that such an accident could seriously damage her hand. The maid noticed a wound in the chest. Molina noted sadly that Cordelia said that she just wanted to ask His Majesty something. She asked if she really wouldn't tell her what happened. She begged her to tell because she was worried about Cordelia, but the girl just turned away and muttered that nothing had happened. She understood why Molina was shocked. She would be shocked too if she saw her in this state. Cordelia was confused. She didn't know what to do because she couldn't tell the truth. She wouldn't believe her if she came up with another pathetic excuse. She had to hurry up and leave this all behind her. Molina said that Cordelia became strange. She only tells her one lie. Cordelia's excuses make her even more worried that she might be in trouble. She's just beside herself with worry. Cordelia panicked, her voice shaking, and she said she didn't want to hide anything on purpose. She reached out her hand to Molina, but she sharply pushed her away. Molina demanded to know what really happened unless Cordelia was trying to hide something. She said Cordelia said they were friends. She said they were almost like family. So why did she treat Molina as if she were a stranger to her? She asked if Cordelia understood how sad she was about all this. Cordelia was surprised. She was very sorry, and she said that she broke the vase herself and used the fragments in order to threaten His Majesty that she would kill herself. Molina panicked. The girl replied that she wanted to leave this house, but he continued to keep her locked up, and she pretended that she would sacrifice her life. Holding Cordelia by the shoulders, the maid asked her to promise that she would not do such things again. The girl agreed. Molina awkwardly asked what the emperor's answer was. Cordelia, smiling happily, replied that everything went well. Soon she will enter the battlefield. The maids were cleaning the library. They had to hurry to finish cleaning the library by today. Schwitka wondered how the three of them dealt with it all over the years. Another maid said that it would all be over soon because Cordelia would soon leave the annex. Schwitka found it strange everything happened so quickly. Cordelia has been locked here this entire time. It's quite strange that she is suddenly released. Another girl, putting her hand on Schwitka's shoulder, happily said that who cares, because thanks to her, they will finally be able to leave this place. Although the last 8 years have been difficult, they will be well compensated. The day after tomorrow, they will finally be free. With the money she earned through hard work, she will pay off her debts, buy land, and build her own house. She will finally heal. One of the maids put her hand on Schwitka's shoulder and asked her to keep her dreams to herself. She understood everything, but they were now right in the imperial palace. You have to keep your mouth shut if you want to survive in this place. She asked Schwitka if she remembered what happened when they first came here. Her eyes filled with horror. She remembered the woman who hit her legs with a pointer, leaving bloody marks. The girl added that if they did not watch their words, they would not hesitate to cut out their tongues. It's better to focus on what they're doing now, rather than the future. She suggested we go out and see how things have changed over the last 8 years. We'll buy a lot of beautiful clothes and eat the best and most delicious food. Schwitka agreed, but she had a feeling that she would miss this place. She remembered little Cordelia and their acquaintance. Noah sat on the porch of the house eating cookies and sulking at Cordelia. Molina scolded him, saying that his sour face was inappropriate here. He asked how she could go to an audience and not tell him about it. In fact, he is surprised that his father allowed this. Noah asked what Cordelia actually did to convince him. She hesitated, glancing nervously at Molina, who was non-verbally trying to hint Cordelia not to tell Noah anything. He will definitely faint from shock. Cordelia sat down next to Noah and told him that she could say she influenced him with her girlish tears. He did not believe that his father could be touched by tears. Noah asked why Cordelia would go to the battlefield. It's dangerous there. She understood this, but she would be far from the front line. She signed up to run errands at a field hospital. Besides, Cordelia clearly cheered up, saying this Molina goes with her. Noah was stunned by this news. He asked Molina if she was planning to return to the aristocracy, but the girl answered negatively. She could not leave Cordelia. She would die from worry about her. This meant that Noah would be left here alone. He was saddened. He asked Cordelia if she would miss this place later. She hesitated and replied that all the maids would leave, so this place would be empty. Of course she will miss them. But the last time she met His Majesty, he said that they were trained before they were assigned to her. He said that even if they hate me because I'm half mermaid, they are not allowed to show their dislike. She was afraid that perhaps they were among those who hated her. Molina smiled at Cordelia, saying that's why she acted so strangely around the other escorts. She said to listen to her carefully, to become an escort. Indeed, they had to go through this strange training, and they had to be locked in the annex with her. But mostly, no one forces them to be here. It's not easy, but in return they will receive enough money to last a lifetime. They are also given a guaranteed old age benefit. Everyone came here to get something. However, should this mean that they would risk taking a job while being forced to live with someone they hate so much? When one mistake will cost your life? Molina turned around and beamed, saying that she also received the same training, and there was nothing like that. Molina tried to cheer up Cordelia. She couldn't speak for everyone, but she really liked her. And it's true. She smiled sincerely at her. Noah sheepishly shouted that he liked Cordelia too. The girl laughed, thanking them, and saying how much she loved them. The emperor reflected on Cordelia's words that she had promised to return here herself after putting her life on the line to leave here. What a stupid lie. However, he couldn't let her cause any more trouble, so he had to pretend to believe her. Tobias would have tied her hands and feet if he could, but he risked damaging her precious body. He would try to return her as soon as possible, but for now he ordered Molina to keep an eye on her, so that she would not do anything stupid. A long time ago, Noah asked Cordelia a question. They were playing sitting on the grass in the outbuilding's yard, and he asked if she was on the side of the mermaids. The girl did not understand his question. He said that he knew she was half human, but she also lived in the sea with other mermaids. It just seemed to him that she loved them much more. At the time, Cordelia was too young to fully understand what Noah wanted to say. He asked when the war was over if she would go back to sea. He looked very upset. When Cordelia heard the trembling in Noah's voice, she felt his fear pierce her heart. She told him that she would not leave because she could not leave him here. Without thinking, she promised Noah something she wasn't sure about. But how else could she answer him? She was born through the connection of two races. She couldn't tell him who she really was because even she doesn't know the answer to this question. If only she had memories before she set foot on land. Little Cordelia is brought to the annex area. She screams and cries, saying that she is not a person, she is a mermaid, and she wants to return home. Cordelia asked herself if there were people here whom she loved, just as she loves Noah. And Molina waiting for her in the azure sea? Would she beg to be returned to the sea? She was tormented by the unknown. Who is she? Why doesn't she remember anything? Who will she love if she lives alone? It's like her feet don't touch the ground. She has nowhere to go and nowhere to land properly. Field hospital. A man trying to save a wounded comrade runs and shouts that he needs to wash the wound and bring tissue. Under such conditions, Cordelia had no time to think. She runs carrying hot water, then brings a cloth and bandages just in case the other girls tensely watch her enchanting speed. Cordelia collects dirty clothes to take to the laundry. Her colleague praises her, saying that she makes it easier to do all the work here. It's been a week since she came to the emergency room. It was difficult at first, but it became much easier as she got used to it. She also realized something about herself. She knows how to work very well, and she was immensely happy about it. In fact, nothing complicated because the work here is quite simple. However, everyone just praises her. How wonderful it seemed to her. The girls discussed Cordelia. They liked her desire. They heard that she lived on a farm. She came all the way here after hearing the news about the war. She came along with that blonde who is always next to her. They both look so young, but how brave they are that they volunteered. Cordelia entered the laundry room carrying dirty clothes. Molina thanked her. They needed more hot water. Molina assumed also firewood. At the moment, they are in the castle of a count named Ernest. Ernest's county is closest to the front line. In early July, the truce was broken, and the coastal village was the first to come under attack. The damage was colossal, and there were also many wounded and killed. Besides everything with the impending Second War, Count Ernest opened the doors of his castle to imperial soldiers and began to actively participate in the war. Cordelia thought they would be outside since this was the emergency room. Molina replied that there was no need for this since the Count allowed the use of his castle. Molina heard that the command was located in barracks near the front line. It's probably not easy for them. The girls were doing laundry, and Molina noticed how good Cordelia was doing it. Cordelia was very happy to be doing everything herself, and also happy that she could help others through what she did. She's glad she's here. Molina warned her friend that this was not the time for her to relax. She must be alert. For her, it's like being in the middle of a battlefield. She will be in danger if the people of the Empire find out who she is. Cordelia didn't believe they could kill her. Everyone here seemed so kind to her. They praise them or say they are proud of them. Molina replied that it would be so, as long as people believe their story about the village in the south. Don't underestimate people's hatred. Whatever she did, Molina asked her not to get caught. A woman came in with more laundry, military nurse Alice Meyer. She knew it was a hassle, but she would have to leave the laundry to them. She's so glad the two of them came to their aid. There was so much work here before. Cordelia asked how things were going on the battlefield. Alice said that it was simply terrible. They had seen people here with wounds. Their wounds were so terrible that it was difficult to help them in any way. They were lucky that they did not become disabled. Most of them can barely stand on their feet, and all because of these filthy animals. Disgusting sea rats? Cordelia was very excited. She hesitated and asked if she meant mermaids. Apparently, she hated them very much. She cried out in approval. Alice said that she could not believe that such a crazy race dared to come to these lands. All they do is only prevent them people from living in peace. We must take the opportunity to exterminate every single one of them so that they are no longer born. Shocked. Cordelia asked if this was really necessary. Alice said since the conversation came up on this topic, she thought that the emperor was too dismissive. She couldn't believe he let that girl live. It would be better to bring this rubbish to the scaffold. And having beheaded, put her head on a pike so that everyone would realize that there is no mercy for monsters. A girl ran in and shouted that Alice should help disinfect the wound. She rushed off in a hurry. Molina was silent, looking at her pitifully. Cordelia said she would be careful. She was very upset but did not show it. Molina was right. People won't accept her just because she's of mixed blood. Cordelia was very scared. She had been hearing bad things about mermaids for days. This anger of people went beyond reason. She's here to prevent her death in 2 years. To do this, you need to find out the reason why the emperor is so concerned about her heart. It was incredible luck that the maids were talking about this that day. Thanks to them, she found out that the empire was desperately looking for volunteers. She used this information to form a basic idea of what she should do. During the conversation between the maids, she realized that the workers were just as likely to come across mermaids as the military. Therefore, to meet them, you need to go to the front. If anyone is going to give Cordelia a clue about her heart, it's the mermaids. She encouraged herself by shouting, and suddenly Molina came in, inviting Cordelia to wash herself. There was an awkward pause. In the bathroom, the girl explained that she was just trying to collect her thoughts.